Okay, Brian, um, I don't know how much time we have left. My sense of timing is off today. 30 seconds. Okay.
Cool.
So we're in for a treat. Love this guy. He's my brother from another mother. JP Sears. You can find him at Awaken with JP. He's been a regular on my show for, gosh, 2 years, JP. We've known each other for 2 years.
Yeah.
Can you believe that?
Yeah, the time has flown by very fast. Yeah, in a way, it seems like just yesterday, but also at the same time, it seems like 20 years just because I think there's a lot of vertical depth in our friendship.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time I get to be in front of you or talk to you, I learn a little bit more and love the illusion of you even more. So I don't know if we're on. I don't know if we're on. Yeah, we are. Look at that. I better open my... I better open this.
Get organized, act professional.
This is what happens when JP Sears is on the show. I just lose track of time. It's like an endless, bountiful, beautiful encounter.
You're in flow state. You're in the timeless place of consciousness.
I love it. Hey, you bring out the best in me, even though you wear an ugly sweater. We're going to have to show it off to our YouTube video, people.
Sure. Happy to.
So I hear that we're about to start the radio show.
Need a friend. The Lillian McDermott Show. To reach out to Lillian, visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who are new to the Lillian McDermott radio show, the purpose of the show is to provide a safe place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening friend, will feel empowered to learn a new truth and embrace the life of your dreams. Now, today, you may have some calls that you may want to call in the show today because you might have some questions, or maybe you want to share your drama on the Lillian McDermott radio show. You can text me at 407-373-5959. If you call, I'll listen during the break, but you need to leave a message. That's 407-373-5959. And the reason why you may want to share is because the holidays are a time where we come together. And I've done several shows on this topic because people keep coming back to me and saying, could you do another show on this topic? Because it's very, very real. In the holidays, when we come together, we find ourselves in many uncomfortable situations with people you don't normally socialize with. And so it becomes, you love the holidays, but at the same time, there are people that you would choose never to socialize with it because they're family or they're connected to your family. You find yourself with them. So the last time JP Sears was on the show, we said, let's talk about being grateful. Let's talk about doing so many, talking about those people that we find hard to love during the holidays. And who else to lead this topic than none other than JP Sears, the spiritual guru. Oh, let me see that. What do you have there? Say something, JP.
I'm for all y'all on the radio, I'm holding up my ultra spiritual troll doll. It's a gift for me from Piper Y Deodorant. It's my new spirit animal.
Okay, we're off for the races here with JP Sears, and since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful to this man. That troll absolutely doesn't look like you, but it captures your essence. How about that?
Yeah, I think he's more handsome than me, actually.
I don't know. Maybe he's a little bit more tan than you, but handsome.
Well, it's definitely, everything's more tan than me.
He's rocking the hairdo. He's rocking the hairdo where you have the ponytail. So
yeah.
You don't have the man bun today.
Not today.
Not today.
Yeah, it's not astrologically appropriate to have a man bun today, Lily.
So
for those you didn't know.
I'm so sorry. You see, I told you I learn something new every time I am in your presence, oh sir. And so for those of you who have never heard of JP Sears, where have you been? You can find JP Sears at awakenwithjp.com. JP takes a comical view as a spiritual guru, comical view and not so much. It makes us think. I don't know. Maybe some people don't think he's funny. I do. I think he's funny. But then there's another side of him that's very ultra spiritual. That is, he's a spiritual life coach or a spiritual coach, and he helps people in so many different ways. And laughter, as they say, JP, is the best medicine. So share a little bit about your background and what brought you to your new truth in life.
Yeah, my background, I've been doing emotional healing client coaching for 16 years. And the past few years, I've been making comedy videos where I'm doing my best to shine the light of awareness on, I would call it the dogma, the shadow side of different topics that are near and dear to my life: spiritual topics, health topics, nutrition topics, and some social topics. And and I'm blessed to be able to do a lot of speaking and performing. And, I'd say the thing that baffles me most about my background, Lily, is when I count my blessings, I realize one of my blessings is I'm able to make a living just playing, amusing myself, while hopefully creating an impact for other people to help them live more meaningful lives to one degree or another. So I'm a little bit baffled by how all that works, but I feel very blessed to be able to play for a living.
Well, your playing for a living has brought a lot of joy in my heart, because some of the videos that you do, or most of the videos you do, just have me rolling on the floor. Lately, you've been JP in the kitchen. You've been doing the raw vegan. You did the raw vegan pizza. You did the raw vegan turkey. And I must say that the whole concept, I would love to be a brain cell in your head, in your mind, for just 1 hour. I think that's all I would need, because I would be tossed around so many times. How do you come up with these concepts, JP?
Man, innovation, Lily, it's just important. So I look for what's missing, and I look at, the raw vegan world, the vegan world, they have a lot of meat substitutes. And of course that makes sense. Like, of course you'd want to have something that tastes like the very substance that you despise the most and has the texture of it. But what's missing in that world is the experience of hunting that pretend animal. So that was the inspiration for my latest how to make a raw vegan holiday turkey video.
That's hilarious. And we're going to continue our conversation with JP Sears when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. My goodness, JP. And I love how you eat the whatever you're creating and go, ooh, this is good. This is good.
I had like a few additional scenes of that film that I didn't put in the end product video because it was long enough as is. But one of the additional scenes was I put a serving of the raw vegan holiday turkey. In the dog dishes, and gave one to Zephyr and then Amber's dog Wally, and I filmed them and they're just looking at it.
Oh, you should have put that on there.
Yeah, maybe I'll have to do maybe some kind of outtakes or follow, because it was very cute. But it's like when I was editing the video, I saw like, okay, this is the end product. It's just much like we were talking about before we went on the air with a relationship, or you walk into a house, it's like, then
Yeah.
So even though the additional footage was great, it's like, that's not a part of this piece.
Yeah. Well, maybe the best outtakes for JP Sears, because I'm sure you have them somewhere. But what's next in the raw vegan kitchen for JP?
I don't know exactly. I'm
still laughing at the cucumber pizza.
I think like making children's lunches, sending them to school would be on the list. But it's important for me to like have something new to bring to it, rather, not just relying on the same premise of raw vegan cooking as one. It's a paradox, and like making a food substitute that's in no way remotely close to what you're trying to make it a substitute for. So I definitely like to bring something fresh to each of the raw vegan
that
videos.
Turkey, the way you took the twigs and the what did you use for the legs? Rosemary? Was it rosemary?
So rosemary was the feathers, and Broccoli
Broccoli
were the
with the legs,
drumsticks.
the drum.
Yeah.
Very clever, very clever. I must tell you, like I said, I just need 1 hour in your brain. So, because that would be enough to just like be tossed around and feel your energy and like be spit out by you. We need to do a video like that where somebody goes into JP's brain.
That'd be, man, I'm narcissistic enough. I think that'd be a great video.
Well,
Speaking of that, you've probably seen I think it was a Pixar film, Inside Out, came out a few years ago.
you know what? I don't think I've seen that.
If I were your doctor, I would say you need to see it and you'll love it. It's
Inside Out.
allegedly for children, but it tells you how our psychology works. It's just amazing.
I'll watch that this weekend. How about that, JP?
Yeah, deal.
Yeah. Okay, here we go.
At 407-373-5959. Once again, here's
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow with one another. I can't stop smiling. It's so nice to see JP today. JP Sears is, gosh, talk about world-renowned, very famous, has over 2 million followers on, YouTube? Or no, on Facebook at least.
Yeah, eclipsed 2 million on Facebook just yesterday.
Wow, amazing. I think I saw the ticker go from 1,999,999. I think I was there stalking you when I saw it go up one night. I'm like, oh man, we need to celebrate this. This is huge. JP Sears puts out videos that are not just inspirational, but he also has another side, the ultra spiritual guy. That's where your career took off. People love to laugh and like to spend time watching videos to make us laugh. But what you do is you make us think about some of our beliefs and make fun of it. And I see myself in a lot of your videos, actually.
Yeah, well, I make all my videos about you, Lily. It's just a big, elaborate intervention in your life. It's like, well,
on that one.
Your family contacted me a few years ago. It's like, well, Lily's a little screwed up. She's a little dogmatic with her self-help. Can you help her? Oh, okay. But yeah, I think one of the keys to a happy life, which I think is something we all want.
Sure.
But gets in the way of a happy, fulfilled life is ourself, particularly our mind, our old belief, our old wounding. So to get through that to our happy life, we've got to find a new way, but we resist that. So with my videos, I do my best to reflect to people essentially what about our minds gets in our way in a way that we'll actually look at. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the absolute keys to a happy life is not believing our beliefs. So, the comedy videos, things I make fun of, it's like, those are things I believe to be like awesome and beneficial.
Yeah.
And it's an act of non-attachment where I do my best to not believe those beliefs by being able to find like the fallacies and the shadow side within a given topic that's important to me.
Yeah. Every single one of them offers us an opportunity to poke fun of ourselves, see ourselves and how silly sometimes we could be in our beliefs of being right. And that leads me to one of the questions I wanted to ask you, JP. You are so evolved. You are like the highest level of evolution as a spiritual guru and all of that, and ultra spiritual as you are. Are you ever in a situation, whether it's family or friends or in a gathering, where someone just rubs you the wrong way, pokes you in the eye and goes, woo, 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 woo? How is it? How do you, as a highly evolved individual, respond to someone who wants to make you feel wrong?
Well, Lily, when I eclipsed 2 million Facebook fans, I called the proverbial little people. I called my parents, my family, my friends, and said, "You guys don't matter to me anymore." And that was hard for me because I don't like to make my own calls anymore. So yeah, of course, I think, man, our family. It's weird how some of them can be the people we love most, but it's also like they are the biggest strangers. Where it's like, wow, we're so different, and it's like you really care about me, but like are you like poking at my eyes right now? And then we like, let's admit it. Then we catch ourselves like, are we poking them in the eyes too?
Yes.
So, I think one of the things that's important for me to minimize how much I lose myself through, gathering with the people who matter to me, but they're not necessarily like-minded people, is doing my best to be acceptance-based in the relationship,
Sure.
not agreement-based. I think we all know that it's easy to have a 100% success rate in changing family members to be who we want them to be. Does that sound right to you, Lily?
Oh, you're absolutely right. I'm back in. You lost me a little bit because I was still thinking about acceptance versus agreement.
Yeah.
I love that. We don't have to agree with them. We can just accept where they're at.
So when we're trying to be in an agreement-based relationship, it's a guarantee to make us go crazy and them go crazy, and we get frustrated, unhappy, and it causes division because essentially we want to agree on we need to agree or else we can't be connected. And part of the agreement is I need you to be the way I want you to be.
Correct.
Basically, I want you to be like me, live, uplifting the way I live. And they have their version of that back at us.
Yeah.
And there is an absolute disconnect there. And agreement-based relationships, I think, are head-based. It's like, I think you should be this way.
Mm-hmm.
And darn it if you're not this way. But acceptance-based relationships, to me, those are the legitimately loving relationships. They come from our heart, where we can look at a person and inside we say, you're not going to be the way I think you should be.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be the way you think I should be, but I accept myself for that, and I'll do my best to accept you.
Sure.
And to me, that's harmony. And also, I'll just add while I'm on my soapbox,
yeah,
we also have to have boundaries. Like, let's not just pretend we're the doormat, or let's just not pretend we're absolutely accepting when we're actually making ourselves the doormat, where people are, maybe a family gathering and older brothers, sisters, maybe parents, there's old patterns playing out where maybe they're shaming us and we allow it because that's what we've always done. But we say, oh no, JP and Lily talked about acceptance relationships. No, we're a doormat in those times if we allow it. So I think we've got to have boundaries where we don't act like the 8-year-old child who just took it because the currency of, making fun, bullying, shame, belittlement was how we connected back when we were kids. I think we got to break that out of respect for ourselves. And
okay, but so let me interject there because you talk about these boundaries. Someone comes in and say, well, I still see you're wearing that outfit from 1985 or something to that effect. Some people can joke. Some people think that you can say whatever you want and go, I'm just kidding. And so, right? Have you? It seems like that's something that's happened to you. But how do we assert ourselves? Still accept the other person for who they are, the annoying as heck relative, and what do you say? What are some good words, JP? Leave us with some great responses that aren't passive aggressive.
Yeah,
they're assertive, and it doesn't create a defensiveness in the other individual.
Yeah, I think the 3 ingredients are transparency, honesty, and vulnerability. Otherwise, you're right. It will be passive aggressive or it'll be defended. So if someone says something and like it genuinely hurts us, like it's not just someone actually kidding, but someone hurting us under the guise of kidding around, we might say that actually hurt. That hurt me hearing you say that. That's transparent. It's very honest and it's very vulnerable. It's probably very different than how we've behaved with that person in the past. But if we want to up-level ourselves and become a greater version of ourselves, more true to ourselves and more authentic, then we have to do things that are different than when we were living in a little bit more shallow state inside. So being transparent, honest, and vulnerable, which means like, wow, that might kill the vibe, but guess what? The vibe was already killed because we were hurt. Now we're just putting up a boundary so that we don't get more hurt. The vibe doesn't get killed more, but on the surface we pretend like everything's good. Oh, say more, tell me,
Kick
so
me
you
some
can
more.
laugh more and I can die inside more. So
Yeah.
I think it's so important
So
to be
that really
transparent,
hurt.
honest.
So that really hurt is
Yeah,
something we can say.
it absolutely.
Okay, so the response is, "Well, I was just kidding. Get a life."
Yeah, and it didn't feel that way to me.
Okay.
And to me, speaking our truth, minimizing projection is important. And say, they get defended. Well, I was just kidding. If we say it didn't feel that way to me, we're owning that. We're not saying, no, you were trying to hurt me. It's projecting. And of course, it's
Sure.
going to create more defense, telling them what they did and what's true for them. But you being as self-responsible as we can, it felt hurtful to me.
But a part of you don't you want to say, well, what about your hairstyle? The 80s called, they want their hairstyle back or something like that.
Of course, we want to give it back to them. And
Yeah.
we can do that, or we can live above that, but calls ours.
Well, that's one of the things. It's like, okay, do we discern whether or not it's worth even saying anything and just translating it in our head? There's a time that I just don't even speak my truth. I just accept them the way they are and translate it in my head as, wow, they are just such shallow people. Is that a bad thing of me to do? Not bad, but is that a tactic that I should use because if I say, wow, that really hurt. Oh, I'm just kidding. You're just too sensitive. You've always been sensitive as a child, and then you just like, okay, man, I shouldn't have said anything because, now I'm going to die even more.
Yeah. Well, I think just like the song goes, there's a time to speak and a time for silence. I don't know if the song actually says that.
Yeah, no, but that's your interpretation. That's your interpretation.
In a time for silence. I think there absolutely is a time for silence, but if there's part of us that's hurt and is like getting more hurt emotionally, then if we need to assert a boundary, we're probably not going to create a silent force field boundary, words and
we can wear a cloak.
I wish. So I think honestly, if there's, metaphorically, our inner child is hurting inside and it needs a boundary, then we've got to do the tough thing of speaking the boundary. And funny thing is, when we assert a boundary, just like you mentioned, they might come at us more, belittle us for having a boundary, which means we have to be ready to assert a bigger boundary. But if we don't need to assert a boundary, then I think silence is absolutely an option.
Yes, because, the 4 agreements, don't take anything personal.
Sure.
And so if someone says something to me, and if I were to say, wow, that really hurt, then I'm taking it personal.
Sure. And I think the question is, did we take it personally? Like if we did, then it hurt us and that's real. Like, should we have taken it personally? Probably not, but we already did. But I think that guiding light of don't take things personally, it's great, and it can save us from experiencing some level of hurt.
Yeah. Well, it just always reminds me of the first time I met you, and I said, I just love you, JP. I hadn't even seen you. We were on Skype at the time. I said, I just love you. And your response was so quick. And you said, you love the illusion of me. But thank you. And it's true. It's the illusion of what we have to the other individual. Every time I hear your voice say that, you're in my head. You're like a meme. JP Sears is a meme. And we're going to continue our conversation with JP when we return worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. You are me. You're planted in my head. You're like this little thing right there.
Yeah, it's brainwashing.
Yes, you've done a really good job at brainwashing me, JP.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes. So seriously, I mean, that's the one thing that I kind of come up with, which is, now what are you drinking now? What are you drinking now?
Just bulletproof coffee.
Oh, you're doing the bulletproof coffee. Oh, so you put butter and coconut MCT oil and
unsalted butter, MCT oil, blend that up, and Yeah.
What's in your glass? This is the topic of conversation during the break. What's in your glass?
What's
Then you
in
bring
your glass?
that's what you bring your little troll up. I'm like, I'm trying to do my thing. I see this troll. I'm like, I can't help but just look at your troll. You're such a cute troll. But anyway, I would love for you to wear your hair like that one day.
I think that'd be fascinating. I don't know how I would get it like that, but I think it'd be pretty interesting.
Well, you'd have to wear a cone or something and then glue your hair to the cone with black spray.
Use enough hairspray to completely destroy the atmosphere, something like that.
Well, we'll have to do a show on that. But anyway, no. Going back to don't take anything personal. At what point do we just set some boundaries and not even go to a family event if you know that it's going to affect you, because really it's not what they're saying to you, is what they're saying to themselves, because we're a reflection of that individual.
100%. And I love how you highlight, I think, what is huge, but it's so unobvious. I think you just looked under the obvious brilliantly, where when we see our family members hurt themselves, maybe they're living in a shame-based existence, which is so easy.
Sure.
Like, it's so hurtful to us to see them hurting themselves and realize, like, Dad, you're disrespecting yourself and I'm an aspect of you. Or actually, to me, just as painfully as like seeing Mom and Dad disrespect each other with their horribly passive aggressive stuff. It's like, wow, I feel horrible.
Yeah. So,
I don't know the answer to that. As far as when do we just not show up, I think there's like this challenging place of balance where cutting people out of our lives because it's easier that way, I don't think that's a go-to answer. I think that's a tool in our toolbox, disconnecting maybe temporarily. But also, like, when we're looking at a family gathering, I think we have to ask ourselves, am I going to this out of obligation or
great question,
out of choice? And, and I think sometimes we have to find our capacity. Like, okay, the old saying, I think it's Jim Rohn, who says you're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So let's just say going to my family and their average is a little bit below mine, like vibration's a little lower. Do I have the capacity for that? Or would that, or don't I? Do I have the elasticity to recover from that? Or have I been challenged enough recently that, like, I'm already sort of on weak legs just with life challenges? Yeah. Or if we're like, I've been in a solid place, and maybe it'll be like eating junk food for a day where I'll binge and maybe take me a day or so to recover, but I have the capacity for it. So I can go get the connection with my family, whatever form of connection that is. Yeah. And it may bring me down a little bit, but I'm going to bounce right back.
Yeah.
And, I think I've been in both places. I've been in places where it's like, I've got the endurance for this, no problem. And other times where it's like, no, I got to be self-centered here and center myself within myself and not act out of obligation.
Very good. Very good. Okay. So I hear the music. We're getting started. This is where I talk about my social media, and then I'll reintroduce you. Okay.
Very good.
This is where I become a little narcissistic. Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyounneedafriend.com. I'm your host, Lillian McDermott, and I just absolutely love the being able to just talk to my guests and get to know them better and learn something new. And that's my philosophy in life. Everyone that you have in front of you, learn something new. And this kind of falls in line with, when you find yourself with someone that it really pokes you in the eye, really it's an unlovable person. The key is to look at them, through the eyes, maybe as a child, that maybe you can love them a little bit more if they were a child. But there's so many different ways that we can kind of allow ourselves to kind of palate the situation by the way we respond or react or perceive the situation. So this is what we talk about here on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, which is taking responsibility for our life, not what they're doing, but for what I am doing. And for those of you who have been listening to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show and you still haven't subscribed to my show, then why haven't you? I'm going to take that personal. I'm going to take it very personal. So go to whenyouneedafriend.com. Please become a subscriber. You get free gifts when you do, and you get the show sent right to your iPhone or your phones or tablets. And also, I want to ask you to go to my sponsorship page, check out my sponsors, because without them, the show would not happen. So make sure you check them out and support them the way they're supporting us. And so make sure that you check out all the little buttons at whenyouneedafriend.com. There's the YouTube button, there's social media. Like me on my social media, subscribe to my YouTube page, because I really, eventually, my goal is to be bigger than JP Sears, which I don't know if that'll ever happen on my lifetime, but one could dream, right? And so there's always a way to stay connected. Please go to whenyouneedafriend.com and let's grow together. You can also call me at 407-373-5959. So if you have a conversation, if you have a question that you would like to be able to ask JP Sears, please feel free, 407-373-5959. I am just so excited when I get to have JP Sears on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show. This guy has gotten really big for his britches. And so when he comes on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, he's coming back to his roots, because I knew him when he had 25,000 followers on Facebook.
Yeah.
I knew you
Yeah,
then.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's, man.
I'm not saying I created you.
Ago.
I'm not saying I created you, but I was a part of that journey.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've appreciated your support. You always uplift me whenever we talk, and you certainly have fertilized my growth and like whatever I've grown.
Thank you. What a great compliment. You've done the same. So you and I are fertilizer for each other. So if we break down fertilizing, what are we calling ourselves?
I think that's a backhanded compliment.
I know.
Are you saying I'm crappy, Lily? Is that what you're saying? Because I think that's what I meant when I said
I'm going to take this personal. That hurt me a bit.
No, don't take it personally. I meant it to be deep enough and hurtful enough. You should take it spiritually. You're talking about your soul is defective. It's not just your personality.
It's just like you to come to a family gathering and act so holier than thou, right?
Exactly. Is that gluten in the gravy?
Gluten in the gravy, and it's maybe got some animal products floating around in it too.
100%. And let me lecture all y'all why you should be vegans and gluten-free and only drink 9.5 pH alkaline water. And
oh my gosh, there's so many times that we could be so wrong about being right.
Yeah. On that note, I read a quote recently. It's in Tim Ferriss's new book, Tribe of Mentors. I forget who it was that said it. He was quoting them, but it said, ego is about who's right. Truth is about what's right. I was like, oh, wow. I love that.
That's wonderful. And that's the thing. Gosh, what was it? I was listening to, was it you maybe? I was listening to you when we first started. It's like you were talking about not believing your beliefs. Gosh, you're already affecting me. I'm quoting you already, not believing your beliefs. And so being okay with somebody else having a difference of opinion and not take it personally and say, because this person believes a certain way, somehow they are infringing in who I am.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff, the issues in the family could be that we are creating it. Maybe there's not an issue going on. Maybe the issue is in our head.
Man, that's a big, bold splash of cold water in the face. And, something that I've really been taking a look at recently, and I've seen other people talking about it, I forget where, but anyway, which is really radical self-responsibility. And this might be a little bit of a stretch, but as an exercise, with radical self-responsibility, what you do is assume 100% of what's going on in your life is your fault. Now, we can always come up with exceptions like, well, someone ran a red light, hit me at the intersection. That's not my fault. Well, let's stretch it and pretend it is. What if your responsibility is you could have been, looking at both ways, even though you had the green light, but you could have been driving more defensively. So that would be radical self-responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So then we take that into a challenging environment. Doing that in the easy environments, I don't even think that's worthwhile. It's just easy. But taking that into a challenging environment, if we've got challenges with our family and family gatherings, then it's like, wow, what if that's true? What if people start fighting with me? What if that's because at some level, like I'm teaching them, like, am I egging them on in some way that is so passive that I don't even recognize? Is me allowing it simply the invitation to keep going? So what if we actually did take this exercise of radical self-responsibility and just pretend everything going on with me in my life is 100% my fault?
Okay.
Ooh.
So let's take the word responsibility here, because fault, blame, shame, duty, those are attached to responsibility. Who wants to be a part of the responsible gang? So it's reframing the way we look at responsibility. I do have at whenyouneedafriend.com, my responsibility is, the first question of responsibility is, how am I creating this? How did I create this? Yeah. And so instead of fault, blame, fault, shame, duty, which makes it a negative, who wants to look at that, a negative side of us, but basically say, how am I creating this environment right now? What am I doing? What can I do to create something else? Because the good news is, if I'm creating it, I can uncreate it.
Yeah, I love that. And first part that I loved is the upgrade of the language. And I realized I was saying fault. And I think you're 100% right.
And I poked you in the eye. I poked you in the eye.
Yeah, you were very shaming in a passive-aggressive way, Lily, because it's my fault that I said fault. But I think...
You created it. Hey, you created it.
Just validating my shame. But I think fault is shame-based language. So I love your upgrade, like, let's go responsibility. How did I create this, rather than the shame-based language? And then, you're brilliant. Like, how can I improve this? How can I make this better? If this is 100% my creation, I'm responsible for it. How can I make it better?
Yeah.
Mm. And the funny thing is, we can't improve it when we're in the disempowered role of the victim. Like, nothing's my responsibility, which is a guaranteed act of creating the same thing over and over again. We're not going to change anything. But if we step into our personal power, assuming responsibility, now we have the power to change something.
Yeah. When I was going through becoming a coach, we had like every single one of us had like a character from Winnie the Pooh. And there's always the person who gets Eeyore. It's like, nobody wants Eeyore. Eeyore is a victim.
Yeah.
And so how many times do we go through life like, nobody loves me?
Yeah.
And nobody understands me. Nobody gets me. And we stay and wallow in that Eeyoreism. And then all of a sudden, everything is a drama. And you disempower yourself, like what you just said. You just disempower yourself. How do we step up and become more like, you don't want to be like Tigger. Maybe you want to be like Winnie. So there's different times that we take different characters in our lives. But that victim mentality will get us down every single time.
Yeah, it will. And I think the absolute first step to upgrading, getting out of the victim mentality, is responsibility.
I love it.
Taking responsibility for the creation that's going on around us.
Yes. And not in a shaming, fault, blame, whatever. It's more of, if I am creating this, because sometimes, and I don't know if you've heard this, I'm sure you have, because you're so evolved and But they say truth is really 1% reality or real, and the other, or perception, is 1% real and 99% made up. So what?
Oh, I believe that for
So
sure.
what are we making up about the situation? So instead of being in a situation where we feel disempowered by our relatives or our friends, we take it back and say, okay, I am going to perceive this in a totally different way and be like the mind of JP Sears, creating something beautiful and new. And we're going to continue our conversation with JP Sears when we return worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. JP, this is such a great conversation with you. I love it.
Yeah, me too. And I'm making sure I'm not listening to anything we say so that I can be 100% tortured with my family gatherings this year. I don't want to have an empowering experience. I like being a victim.
But so many people do.
Yeah.
And, it's especially when when I do a lot of shows on health and nutrition, and discovered a new truth about how our bodies heal naturally. And to the point, let me just give you I don't know if you know that back in June I was in a car accident, and I have 4 herniated discs. And
Oh, I didn't know about the discs.
Yeah, well, I've had a shoulder problem, and my chiropractor's been trying to help me. Just found out that I have a torn tendon in my shoulder for 6 months that they're trying to treat me with, therapy. I was with 2, not just 1, regular pain management doctors. Both of them said, your body will heal naturally. You don't need to do surgery. And I thought, wow, they're telling me this off the cuff, but you know how many people they do surgery on for less than what I have. But the body heals so beautifully. It creates, it can heal. And so when I say that, it's such great news that we have the power to heal ourselves. Some people need a little bit more intervention than others, but that mentality, that perspective of my body can heal, well, what you believe will manifest, right?
Yeah.
And healing occurs in different ways. So, but anyway, I just thought that was interesting that here are these doctors who are allopathic doctors, classically trained, are telling me the body will heal.
I think that's beautiful. It's a very powerful testament. And I think along with the body will heal, the mind will heal, and the heart will heal. And I think the trick with the body, mind, heart is it will heal if we allow it. And I think, just as we're on the victim bandwagon, victimizing ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally is not allowing the healing. It's like we're just denying the healing. So it's kind of like if you fell into a victim pattern with your shoulder, where who Lily becomes is the woman who's always telling her friends and family, oh, poor me, this car accident, this shoulder, wow, this really hurts. It's like the pain could be gone, but you have no idea it's gone because you're identified with the pain. So perception being 1% reality, 99% delusion, you just hallucinate, well, the pain's still there, and maybe that does keep the pain still there, but you don't allow it. And I think, that's a parallel to who we are and what we are with our family. Are we the victim, which is not allowing ourselves to heal and rise above where we once were, or do we allow ourselves to upgrade?
So let's talk about upgrading. And, some of the things that we can do as we prepare for embracing our family gatherings with people that will poke us in the eye. So are we ready for that?
Let's do it, sister.
Okay, here we go.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave her a voicemail at 407-373-5959.
I can't believe this is our last segment,
again,
JP.
Yeah,
welcome back. I know it does. Welcome back to Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where time just flies. I was just saying that to JP. This is like, oh my gosh, I wish we could do an extra hour, JP.
I'd love to.
You. Well, I love the illusion of you, and I'm okay with that. So let's move up. Let's move up here, because we've talked about feeling like a victim. We've talked about empowering ourselves. We've talked about taking responsibility and being transparent and honest and vulnerable too. But at what point do we prepare ourselves to go into battle, put on our warrior makeup, and we're like going there? And I want to share a story with you. I don't know if I've shared this story with you in the past, but there was a time that I needed to go to a place, and I'm not going to name names just in case somebody listens to my show and they're watching this.
This is about Bob. It's Bob's fault. Yeah.
And so as I'm going into this, I know this is a person that I'm going to see again. And I was having some issues with this person because they hurt me. And I didn't like how I felt. So I started sending that person love. I forgave the person, but I forgave the person for me because I didn't like how I felt. And so as I was going through this process of forgiveness, all of a sudden I started wishing that person love, peace, joy, abundance, and wishing them well. And what we wish onto others comes back to us. So I was feeling that love, abundance, and compassion for this person. And I knew that I would see this person for the first time after not seeing them for a while. And I remember seeing them and being able to, at that moment, approach the individual. I approached the individual, gave the person a hug, and said, I love them. And so forgiveness and mental preparation, like you don't go to the Olympics going, maybe I'll try that sport. Let me see if I'm good at it. You don't go there. You got to prepare. So let's talk about that preparation, that frame of mind going into battle, so to speak, and getting ready spiritually, emotionally, physically for being in that environment.
Yeah. Well, I think you start off with a beautiful footstep in this regard, the F word, forgiveness.
Oh, yeah.
To state the obvious with our families, we might show up as like, okay, we're here on December 25th hanging out, but that's not all that's in the room. There's, like for me, there's 36 years of, I don't know, how old am I at? 36 or 2? Call it 36 years of experience.
Well, you do look younger than your troll. So go ahead.
Thank
36. So 36 years of experience. Yeah.
So there's 36 years worth of baggage and good memories, but baggage too in the room. So, that won't take care of itself. We've got to be proactive with healing it. And I think forgiveness is a great thing. So, and I love your analogy. You don't just show up at the Olympics and like, what sport am I going to try? Or you show up untrained.
I actually just made that up.
I think is a
you bring that out. Yeah, you bring that out in me.
So I think asking ourselves, like not in the moment when Dad's right there, but beforehand, like what can I forgive?
Yeah.
Who can I forgive? And what can I forgive myself for with these people? And I think that's so important. That really conditions us to be more present rather than stuck in the past.
Correct.
With like in the suitcase of the baggage while we're physically here on December 25th, 2017. So I think forgiveness is a huge, huge step of psychological conditioning to prepare us.
How do you prepare for a situation that you know you're going to feel uncomfortable?
It's a good question. I think going over my my pain and my triggers that I expect will happen. Now, it's slippery slope. I don't want to pre-frame myself and just like hypnotize myself to believe this is going to be a crappy experience, but also the past is a good teacher. It's like, okay, if mom starts yelling at dad, I know that triggers triggers me. Like I feel very uncomfortable and I shrink down.
Yeah.
So if that happens again, mom yells at dad, there's a decent chance that'll trigger the same stuff in me.
Sure.
So I want to nurture myself beforehand and get beneath my reaction. So my reaction is I shrink down and get silent. So I want to consider, so I don't have to do that and just disappear, is ask myself like, okay, when that happens, what's really going on for me? What and what am I actually really afraid of? Like, what's my real fear that's triggered in that moment? And I think for me, at least in this case, there's a part of me that needs to say, like, I'm scared.
Yeah.
So like here before I'm at the gathering, it's in this therapy session that we're doing on the radio, Lily, is like, it's important for me to just be able to be honest and vulnerable with myself and say, it's scary for me watching mom and dad aggressively fight. I feel scared. And that's important. And like in the moment, in the past, I would shrink down and disappear as a way of suppressing the fear. Yeah. But being able to voice what I didn't know how to voice in the past, I dare say it helps me be more present in the moment. If that does happen again, mom and dad fight, they probably will. May not make it perfect, may not make me feel like at 100% like I do now, but I would dare say it will prepare me to be better off and more connected and present in myself.
Well, and I've said this before, and we've talked about this, that we're all teachers and we're all students. Yeah. Now, your parents, and I'm not saying that this is happening with your parents, but keeping on with the example of your parents, they're teaching you what it looks like to argue with your spouse in public. Yeah. And you can use that as a teachable moment, as they're teaching me how not to behave in the future.
100%. Yeah, I was in LAX just recently with Amber, and there was a couple. They were, I don't know what they were, probably about 60, man and a woman, and man, they were really going at each other. That's not how you use a check-in machine. Oh, fine, you do it. And then like she screws it up too, and you can just see him like so excited she failed too, and like, man, that was a powerful teacher. It reminded me of some of my family experiences, but you hit the nail on the head. Like that really gave me a powerful lesson. I don't think I needed the lesson, but I really benefited from the lesson, where I looked at Amber and I've just felt like so much more respect for her. And I was really called to like, I want to treat this woman so well. And it's important for me to be treated well as well.
Sure. And, once you become aware, that's half the battle. Being able to go through that and getting ready for this, whatever it is that we're going into or whatever we perceive we're going into, we can diffuse the situation in so many different ways. But the reality of when you're there, we have to be armed with some tools that will help us get through it. Yeah. And at the same time, as I'm saying this, I'm going, why would I even want to be there? If that's all the emotion that is bringing it, why would I even want to be there? And the answer is because this is what we know.
Well,
for me.
It's what we know for sure. And I would also challenge all of us, though I don't know anyone's unique family situation, that, the stress, the chaos, the torment, if you will, it might be there in the family gathering. And it's not all that's there. I think there's gems to discover if we look for them. We'll be blind to them if we don't look. But what is good about this situation?
Love that.
Yeah, where is the love? Where is the happiness? Where is the connection? Doesn't mean there's not the other stuff too. But can I not be blinded looking at the shadows and forget, like, oh, on the other side, like, there's light shining in my face.
Yes, I love that, because there's always someone in the family we look forward to. We'll just stick to that person for a while and use them as a shield.
Monopolize them in conversation. Yeah, don't go anywhere. I'll
right here.
Fill your plate up for you.
JP, Sears, our time has ended. So thank you so much for being on the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, and I wish you love, peace, joy, and all the wonderful things the new year brings to you.
Thank you, Lily. You too. And I appreciate you having me again.
Yes. And for those of you, my listening friend, JP Sears, you can find him at Awaken with JP. And remember, you are in choice. Choose love. Always. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Good job. So, JP, any last words of wisdom for our viewing audience as we go forward with the video here real quick, because I know you've got to go, but anything that you'd like to share that we didn't get to share today?
It's something I've been reminding myself of. Our family won't be around forever.
Mm-hmm.
So, the question you put on the table a couple minutes ago of like, oh, why would I even want to go?
Yeah.
And, if there's an abusive situation, like
Yeah.
legitimately not
Yeah.
challenging, but abusive, like that's a great reason not to go. But so with that exception acknowledged, one of the reasons, why I would choose to go is my family's not going to be around forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know what it is about the human connection with them. It's not the conversation, probably, but there's just a connection that's renewed that's important to me. And I guarantee no matter how much time I spend with my family, and for me, it's not a hell of a lot. I live in a different part of the country. I see them a few times a year. So, but regardless, no matter how much time I spend with my family, one day I'll wish it was more.
Mm.
And I want to minimize that regret. I don't want to look back and say like, wow, I didn't see them at all. I'd rather look back and say like, I did my best to see them as much as I could. And yes, I wish it was more, but at least I created some time together that I can be grateful for. And I can have those memories and those connections that live on in intangible ways.
I like that. I think it's beautiful. I write for Florida Today, and one of the things that after 2 years of writing, I've got like this little thing going, which is everything that I do has a theme, and I do like an acronym for that theme.
Hmm.
And when I was preparing for this show, I came up with an acronym of AWARE. As we were walking into a situation, let's look at the aware, the word AWARE, and I had jotted some things down. And so, the A would be for awareness, to accept the situation, the awareness and acceptance of the situation. Of course, abuse is a deal breaker.
Sure.
Always, but there are some people that you can't trust, and so you find your little group of people in that. And so then there's the W, walk in their shoes. Like, walk a mile in their shoes. What is it? Do they have unresolved issues, unfulfilled desires? Are they in a miserable situation? Are they unhappy? And am I going to allow them to, or that awareness that allows them to kind of like poo-poo on my parade, so that walk in their shoes for the W. And then A, acknowledge the feelings that we talked about. Be truthful. What you said was transparency, vulnerability, and honesty. I love those. So that acknowledge how you feel. And then the R, resolution, the forgive, including self. Just be resolved to just forgive the individual and not the person, but maybe the situation, and just be a little bit more resolved to just, let things be the way they are. And like you said, I love that when you said that to me, I had to write it down. Acceptance versus agreement.
Yeah.
And then the last one is the E, is empower ourselves to go beyond what we see.
I like that.
Yeah, so that was but then I also came up with another one, which was fart. You want to hear it?
What's the FART stand for?
Forgiveness, awareness, responsibility, and trust. Trust the process.
And I love both acronyms. I think my style. There's, FART is going to stick with me longer just because there's
forgiveness, awareness, responsibility, trust, empowered. Yeah, so
beautiful.
Anyway, I do these little things. I didn't even know I had it in me, but every article has I take it and I create a new truth for the word. And so those were a couple of things that were just within me, because I've had to deal with situations where in the past I would have taken the victim role and taken everything personal and created a stink, or I would have been verbal about my how I feel. But then it wasn't received the way I intended.
Yeah.
So I learned to stay quiet and allowed that death inside of me that you talked about. But now I think I have a balance with that aware acronym to understand that everybody's dealing with their own crap. I should come up with a crap analogy, but anyway. But I mean, do you feel like you said? I don't want to regret not being around these people enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have the experience of essentially choosing our friends, and I think it also we deserve the reminder of, like, while we didn't consciously choose our family, at some level we probably did, the whole sacred contracts.
Yeah.
And therefore there is a reason why our family's in our life. And also I think right now for this show, we've been talking about essentially working with the challenges of family, which, that needs to be talked about, the joys with our families. Like, there's no problem solved. So, in a way, why talk about it? But I do want to acknowledge, like, yeah, and there can be great joy and friendship with our family. It's not just all black swamp. Well, maybe for some of us, but at least for me, that's
black swamp.
Luckily only one of the dimensions, not the entire thing.
And we are very lucky. When you would choose your family as your friend, that is like optimal. But we also need to take that responsibility role to say, how is this person beautiful to me?
I like that.
And find the beauty. I have someone that's in my family who it's all about them and how beautiful they are and how wonderful they are, and they just want to talk about themselves. And at first, when I was younger, I couldn't stand to be around. First of all, they were my idol growing up. Sure. And then as I got to see the narcissistic kind of behavior, I just like pulled away from that person altogether. I couldn't even stand to be with that person for more than 5 minutes. And now, as I've kind of like come back like a little boomerang, I can see that I feel bad for that person. And I can love them because that's what they need. They need someone to acknowledge them. Yeah. And so now I can listen to them talk about themselves and say, oh, I'm so happy for you. And I'm so glad for you. And so, rah, rah, rah for you. And I really mean it. I've gotten to that place where I can see how much they love themselves. And then I find that love as well to attach to and love them too. So it's interesting, the dynamics, you think you're evolved until you find your family.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank. But anyway, I know that you have busy days, and I always appreciate you taking the time to be on my little show.
Absolutely, Lily. Thank you for having me again, and I hope you and all the lovely people watching this have a wonderful holiday and a wonderful weekend coming up.
Yeah, and before you go, I want you to stand up and talk while you're standing up so people can see your T-shirt brand or your ugly sweater.
Yes, my on-brand spiritual AF holiday ugly sweater.
I love it. I love it. You are, I tell you what, an empire. That's what I meant to say. I need to come up with an acronym for that one. But you're doing great. You're doing great things. Thank you, JP. You're changing the world one laugh at a time.
Thank you, Lily. Appreciate you, sister.
And I appreciate you. And thank you for being with me today. And to you, my viewing friends, I look forward to our next conversation.